Today we're sewing one of my favorite seasonal wardrobe pieces, a bodysuit. We're using Simplicity 8513 and I'm sewing view D today. I'm also interested in sewing view C for myself. If that's something that you'd like a sew along for, please let me know in the comments. You'll notice that I'm using pieces of tape on the fabric in this sew along to designate the wrong side of the fabric, because the right and the wrong side of the rib knit that I'm using today looks the same. I hope you join me in sewing this bodysuit. Let's get started. Place your front and back pieces right sides together, matching your shoulder seams and side seams, and pin in place. Sew your shoulders and side seams with a 5/8 inch seam allowance using your sewing machine or a serger. Fold and press your collar in half, wrong sides together. On your collar pattern piece, you have dots indicating where the collar meets the shoulder seams. I'm going to mark those points with pins. Now I'll place my collar and the neckline of my bodice right sides together, matching the notches as well as the dots to the shoulder seams, and pin in place. Now I'm going to sew the collar to the neckline with a 5/8 inch seam allowance from one side all the way to the other, slightly pulling that collar material as needed to get a perfect fit from side to side. The pattern calls for a 9-inch invisible zipper. I'm going to open up my zipper and take it to the ironing board, and using my finger, I'm going to roll those coils flat and give that a light press all the way across, doing that to flatten out the coils on both sides of the zipper tape. Here is the raw edge of my back left bodice piece. I'm going to take the left side of my zipper tape and place it right sides together with this left back bodice. I want the top stop of my zipper to be a 1/4 inch below the top of the collar. And I want my main zipper teeth to be 5/8 of an inch away from the raw edge from top to bottom. And then I'll pin in place. Now using a zipper foot or an invisible zipper foot, I'm going to sew close to the zipper teeth from the top to as far as the presser foot will allow me to get to the bottom of the zipper. Once that's sewn, I'll close my zipper. Then I'll match the right side of the zipper tape right sides together with the right back bodice. With the zipper closed, you can make sure that the tops of the bodices align perfectly. And then make sure once again that the top zipper stop on this side is a 1/4 inch below the top of the collar, and the zipper teeth are 5/8 of an inch away from this vertical raw edge, and pin in place. Now that that's pinned, I'll open up the zipper, and I'm going to sew this right zipper tape in the exact same way as we did for the left side. Now that the zipper is sewn on both sides, I'm going to close the zipper, and the zipper tape that is peeking over the edge on both sides can be tucked in between the seam allowance and the outer garment, and slip stitched in place. Doing this on both sides. Now I'm going to turn my garment inside out and pin the remainder of my center back seam from the bottom of the zipper to the bottom of the garment, so that the materials at the center back are right sides together. Now I'm going to sew the rest of my center back seam, starting from where I ended my zipper stitching, still using my zipper foot. After about the first 3 inches, I'll switch back to my regular presser foot to stitch the remainder of the seam all the way to the bottom, all using a 5/8 inch seam allowance. And press open the remainder of that center back seam. And now for the bottom edge of the back piece, we're going to press up that bottom raw edge to the wrong side by 3/8 of an inch. And then we're going to fold and press it once more to the wrong side along the fold line marked from your pattern piece. Once you have that section pressed in place, go ahead and pin along the bottom edge. Then take it to your sewing machine and edge stitch close to that inner fold. Here's the very bottom edge of my front piece. Now with right sides together, I'm going to align my lining and my front piece and pin along the bottom. And then sew or serge this bottom edge with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Once that seam is sewn, flip the garment over and flip that lining piece to the wrong side of the bodice and give that bottom seam a good press. And then pin the lining along the side seams. And then take it to your sewing machine and baste those edges in place. The pattern calls for 1/4 inch wide elastic. I've cut 2 strips for my size according to the pattern instructions. Now I'm going to open out my front and back pieces away from each other, and I'm going to line up the edges of the elastic along the raw edges of the leg opening, placing the elastic on the wrong side of the fabric. Now using your serger or a zigzag stitch, we're going to sew that elastic in place from the bottom of the back piece straight across to the bottom of the front piece. Do this to apply your elastic to both sides of the leg opening. Then we're going to fold that elasticated edge to the inside and pin in place. Using a wide zigzag stitch, I'm going to sew from one end to the other. Again, doing this on both sides of the leg opening. For the bottom crotch fasteners, I'm going to be using plastic snaps. Here is the right side of the bottom crotch opening for my back piece, and I'm going to attach the socket pieces of the snaps. Now here is the outside of the bottom edge of my front piece. And on the inside, I'm going to attach the socket pieces. Now the bottom edge of the bodysuit is complete. Now fold your sleeves in half, right sides together, and pin the underarm seam. Doing this for both sleeves. Sew or serge these seams with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. The hem allowance for the bottom of the sleeve is 5/8 of an inch. I'm going to fold the bottom raw edge to the wrong side by 5/8 of an inch and pin that in place. Then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and use a zigzag stitch to secure that hem in place and repeat for both sleeves. Now with my sleeve turned right side out and my bodysuit inside out, I'm going to place the sleeve inside the bodysuit, matching the underarm seams and pin in place, and also matching the notches that indicate front and back. And I'll match the dot from the top of my sleeve with the bodice shoulder seam and pin in place. Now I'll take it to my sewing machine and sew all the way around with a 3/8 inch seam allowance, repeating for both sleeves. And now your bodysuit is complete. Thank you for watching this sew along. Take a look at the rest of my video library for more great sewing inspiration, and I'll see you in the next video.